Welcome to the opening session of the 5th annual Bahrain Bayan School Career Awareness Week. This week is dedicated to the development of the students' career knowledge and orientation. Students, you will get to learn about different fields, interact with professionals from the community, meet Bayani alumni, and expand your knowledge of higher education. This morning's session consists of a warm panel discussion with two of our dear alumni from BBS. Our first panelist is Ms. Marwah Al Obaidli, who graduated in 2006. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Management and Computer Information Systems from Bentley University in the United States. Also, she has a Master's in Cybersecurity and Management from the University of Warwick in the UK. She currently works as a communication security professional at the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority. Our second panelist is Ms. Aysha Bukhelli, who graduated in 2012. She has a Bachelor's in Science and Computer Science, a Master's in Computer and Information Security from the University of Portsmouth in the UK. She's also pursuing her PhD in Computer Security and Information Hiding at the same university. She currently works as an IT specialist at the Prime Minister's office. Please help me welcome to the stage Ms. Marwah Al Obaidli and Ms. Aysha Bukhelli.
It's on. Yeah, okay, it's working. Okay, thank you. Things happen, technology.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
So, tell us first, how does it feel to be back at BBS?
Okay, I'll start off by saying it's very nice to be back home in Bayan after so long. I just wanted to give you one thing, and I do remember when first Mariam called me, and I realized, it was, you guys were born in 2006, and I graduated in 2006. So it's good to be back to my fellow brothers and sisters here, and I hope that we encourage you to be part, we want to be part of also your success journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, it was like different, but the same. It's the same faces, but different students. So it's a different environment. And for me, like, although they weren't born, they were there. They were there, and they were in the 6th grade, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe in the 1st grade. I felt that they are the new generation, and they will learn from all of our steps and all of our mistakes. So I am very proud of you guys.
We're so excited that you're here with us today. So my first question for you is, what made you go into your fields? Computer science, technology. Could you let our students know, please?
Okay, I'll start off by saying, probably 10 years ago, technology was, as we're speaking today, it's still advancing. But it was probably newer back then than it is today. I was encouraged by a lot of people around me, my family, my friends, my teachers. Maybe my biggest push was when I joined my first job. I went to the Bahrain Center for Strategic International and Energy Studies. I was they wanted to send us on a scholarship, so I wanted to do something new. I didn't want to go into something that was already there. So back then, it was cybersecurity. Cybersecurity was the new phenomenon of the technological world. It was challenging. I like challenges, and I like to defeat the challenges. So it was something new. I was one of the first females in the GCC to pursue a Master's of Science in Cybersecurity and Management. I was encouraged by a lot of people, as I said, around me. So I guess that's what made me go into that field.
For my end, so my passion started here in Bahrain Bayan School. It was Ustad Mirhat. He was my inspiration to pursue computer science. So in the beginning, I really wanted to do physics, but I felt I wouldn't have a job opportunity to do that. So I remember Ustad Mirhat saying that he had a computer security degree. And I remembered how he taught me math, and he taught me that problem solving is part of computer science. With that, after doing my bachelor's, I had another tutor that helped me, Dr. Benyamin, who is my PhD supervisor now. He taught me the security and cybersecurity part of the IT world, which made me pursue my master's and so on to my PhD. And basically, I understood that if you really have a problem-solving characteristic, cybersecurity is for you.
That's wonderful to hear and inspirational. Thank you. So, two ladies here with us today with computer science, degrees. The field used to be dominated by males. Is this still the case?
Honestly speaking, yes, it is still the case. It's still challenging to enter a field where it's only men-oriented. It's not, as I previously mentioned, I liked challenges. That's why I wanted to enter a field where many women are supporting each other to enter the field of cybersecurity. So today we're looking at a lot of organizations, for example, the International Telecommunications Union, who has a specific program for women in cybersecurity, which I recently finished this year. I joined it as the second cohort. And we graduated. They support you through the process of engaging and getting a wide network of other women, not only within the GCC, but worldwide. You get to know a lot of people. You have mentors that guide you to understand how to become better and how to make sure that women are heard in the cybersecurity field. So yeah, so that's the different things about it. We know a lot of universities, and recently in Bahrain, a lot of universities have opened bachelor's and master's of science degrees in cybersecurity, and there are a lot of engagements with other universities as well, and schools are also encouraging students to pursue a field in technology, not only cybersecurity specifically, because cybersecurity is a really big world. There's a lot more to just the word security. You have to handle it from all perspectives. So it's not only technical. Maybe I know this is probably a second question. So don't think about it that you really have to be technical to be good in this field, because you can look at it from a technical, a managerial, and an administrative perspective. So it grows with you as you study and you learn. And there are things that we learn in school, and there are things that we learn during life. So that's how it's your competitive advantage and how you make things different than the others around you.
Aysha, would you agree?
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything?
For me, I wanted to talk in IT in general. It is a very male-dominated industry, especially when I did my bachelor's in 2012. I was one of 250 students, which were all male, not to mention Arab and Muslim. That's a whole different story. And until now, in the job industry, when they look at me and say, are you a cybersecurity professional? You're a woman. How are you going to get married? The cultural boundaries, the social boundaries, it's a lot. And trying to prove and overcome these boundaries is taking and very hard. But if you love your specialty and if you love what you're doing and there is a passion behind it, you'll excel and you'll be the best.
Thank you so much. Could you tell our students a bit about your day-to-day life at work? So how does it look like to go in the morning, check in and check out? Could you give them a snapshot of the day?
Okay. Anna, I work in the Telecommunications Regulatory Authority, so we are managing telecommunication licensees. So we work from a overlooking perspective where you ensure, from my job is to ensure that the critical telecommunications infrastructure is secure. It's good to understand the technical parts of it because that's where you excel, but the challenge is how do you direct people towards the right decision? So that is our main job at the TRA. So when I enter in the morning, my main job is to look at the emerging technologies. How do we put them in line with the government ICT strategy? How are we looking to ensure that we develop the economic vision, but making sure we're protected and secured? So we do research, we have the technical capabilities, but we make sure that we're provisioning these regulations from, as I said, a management perspective. So we're looking to make sure that all the telecom licensees, the big ones, the small ones, are working together in collaboration to ensure that we achieve Bahrain's Economic Vision 2030, but whilst making sure that we're protected at the same time. We have specific regulations that we follow, and we make sure that they know what they need to do and what our responsibility is, and how can we achieve this together.
Wonderful, thank you.
My day-to-day life is very different. Very. I have more of an administrative role. However, I feel more of a paramedic in the sense that if a security breach has arisen or a malicious code or malicious file has been sent via email, I'm there to contain it. I'm there to investigate. I'm there to liaison with the specific authorities, being IGA, CISO, I think it's called, and even the Ministry of Interior. Sometimes if there aren't any incidents, I work with the firewall, the antivirus, see if we are up to standard with the policies and upgrades, and yeah, that's basically me.
It seems very varied, and you wear many hats in your jobs. Could you tell us a bit about something exciting you've worked on, innovative, that you'd like to share with the students?
Okay. I just, as part of my job, was doing a study on the Internet of Things. So considering it was an emerging technology and we wanted to make sure, and Bahrain is one of the first countries to start implementing emerging technologies, and specifically IoT. So we started working on the Internet of Things study, and what emerged from it was the IoT connected cars. So as I wanted to say, we're proud to say that we licensed BMW to start provisioning IoT connected cars in Bahrain. And they started that in August 2022 last year. So that was one thing that I was excited to say, because it was one of the government initiatives, and we managed at the TRA to achieve this. And it was good to know that we, BMW, were very appreciated, that we, of course, the TRA and all the other government entities in Bahrain are here to support emerging technologies and whatever we can do to advance Bahrain and make it a technological hub. And so that was one of the achievements that that came out of a study but came into practice. We see it now today. So that's,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Me was two things, one before I worked and one after I started working. So the one that I did before I worked was for my master's studies, I hacked drones. So it was in 2016, and drones were such a big thing in Bahrain and around the world. And I wanted to know if they were hackable, which they were. And finding that out and buying drones and hacking everything was the most amazing thing. And it was one of the first studies that showed that drones are vulnerable, and no need to be afraid of it. And there are easy ways to get rid of them, like with day-to-day gadgets. That was one thing. The other thing was when I first got employed, fresh graduate out of master's, an incident happened with our office that originated from other entities. And I had to work with everyone and people that are directors, ministers, just to find that out. And that was something that was very excitable. I ended up getting an award for it, for just having less than a year's experience and figuring all that out and investigating with people that had over 10 years experience. So that was something that was really excitable.
Wow. Congratulations
Thank
again.
you.
So you talked a bit about hacking, all right? Do you have any advice for our students today? You know, with the use of social media, we all use computers, we all have our cameras everywhere. Would you give them any tips or advice on the usage of technology?
Be aware. Don't use ChatGPT. Don't make it stronger. Nope. Be always on guard on where you're putting personal information. Read the fine lines. Be careful, especially connecting to open Wi-Fi. So that is another type of an attack, and just be aware of your surroundings and try to not put your credit card information, sensitive information, because there's another type of attack called social engineering, just on knowing what's your birthday, what's your favorite place or destination, even your CPR. Be careful.
So my next question is about the study field of computer science. So nowadays, you know, we have many students come to our office going like, I want to study computer science, I want to go into cybersecurity, I want to study CIS, I want to study IT, and a lot of them don't understand the differences necessarily between each and every field. Could you give us just like a general snapshot of how they are different and what's common between these fields?
Okay. So I just wanted to add one thing before that. So with COVID, specifically the pandemic, everything has gone digital. So basically now our job is to protect everything online. So it's not only about cybersecurity. There are a lot of things, and now I come back to your question. So the field of technology. Emerging technologies is not only cybersecurity. We see bachelor's of science degrees now in artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, network engineering, telecommunications engineering. So it depends on where you see yourself in the future. How do you want to get there? Do you want to be a technical person? Do you want to focus on the technical aspect of things? Or do you want to focus on the managerial aspect of things? I agree to those people who they know both things. Even though they have the technical, but they pursue a managerial field because it gives you strength to put things into practice and to make the right decisions. So it doesn't mean that if you have a bachelor's of science in computer science, you won't be able to do the managerial part of it. But you just need the skills, and some of the skills that you learn come with experience. They don't come as part of the package that you end up with the certificate in university. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, you have the engineering field, you have the administration, and there are people who go into research and consulting. So there are people who work on testing and hacking, penetration testing, incident response. You have people who work with the SIM and SOC, which is the Security Operations Center. So even if we're going to dive into the field of technology, the field of cybersecurity, do you want to be, of course we all want to defend, but there's different types of defense,
Yes.
as we call them. And maybe Aysha will elaborate on this more, because we have the red team, the purple team, and the blue teams. Each one of them works in a different type of defensive mode. Some of them, so basically I think it depends on the person and where they want to be in the future. That's where you see yourself, and that's how you build your competitive advantage, and how you make sure that you're better. And why should someone, like, first of all, maybe when we start off, like, at your young age, why should this university accept me and not the other person? And then when you move on to your first job, you try to convince them and tell them it's about me, and you have 100 or 1,000 probably other candidates that are competing for the same job position. In cybersecurity today, we know there are a lot of positions that are open, but you never know in 2 to 3 years' time. I mean, we know Saudi Arabia, we know the UAE are training thousands of people to enter this field. So probably we can say much of the vacancies are going to be occupied in 5 years' time, just to cope with the market requirements. So it's about the person himself and how they can make sure they have the required skills to enter that market. The technological field is always advancing. There are always new challenges, there are always new opportunities, and with those opportunities, as we say, come the risks. Today we're talking about electronic risks are much higher, and we have a lot of cyber threat actors that have a lot of mechanisms, and those, as we try to advance our protective mechanisms, they try to advance their attack services. So it's basically our challenge to understand and develop ourselves as the world develops.
Yeah, thank you. Aysha, I want to ask you, is there a specific field in Bahrain that is in need nowadays? So we talked about cybersecurity. Obviously, you know, everybody's trying to hire people for cybersecurity positions. But is there any other related field that students can start thinking about and study at a university level?
So one of the emerging subjects and courses and specialties is AI, which takes into consideration machine learning and neural networks specifically, which is difficult to understand. Me, as a PhD candidate, I tried to use a little bit of that technology for my dissertation. It was excruciating and so difficult to understand. So it is something that the world is going to see, because neural networks does predict patterns and future patterns, and it's used in the financial sector, and it's used in the technological sector, and so on. So if someone does really want a new subject, a new field, AI and machine learning, that is your best bet.
AI and machine learning.
Yeah.
So for all these fields, what do you think our students here today should be focusing on in school? What specific subjects they need to excel in order for them to go into these specific fields?
I think me and Marwah just spoke about this. Math. Sadly, but math. To be honest, like on a real level, when I did my bachelor's, we had a subject called mathematics. And math and statistics. And basically, if you did really well in the exam, you wouldn't have to take that subject at all. And I think I was one of 5 people out of 300 students that passed that exam, which means the math that you're taught here, specifically IB, SL, that is your best bet. Because you will use statistics a lot, and you will use math, and you will then move on to logic, and then binary and hex code, and then you have to understand how those come into place. So math. Sorry about math.
Would you agree?
I'd say people who want to pursue the technical field, computer science, probably would help you a lot. Mm-hmm. I did my IB in ITGS. It helped me a lot. So as I said, it depends on which field you're taking. If you're taking, ITGS would give you the skills that you need. Computer science would probably be a little advanced. if you're looking at the Python, the programming part of things.
More practical.
The practical fields, يعني that's what I'm talking about. We have, everyone now is talking about big data and how can we make the right decisions using AI. Another thing is the Internet of Things. I mean, I realized Aisha said artificial intelligence as soon as Layal asked her. But Internet of Things has become a thing. يعني الحين everything is connected to the internet, basically. So how do you... Probably, I know what people are thinking. They're thinking it's probably a very specific field, but it's a big thing. It's really big. Like you can't, if you diverge into the field of the Internet of Things, you're gonna see there are a lot of use cases, and probably this is where you can make the difference. And how can you apply those use cases in today's world and in all sectors of the economy? You have, probably coming from the telecommunications field, we have the telecommunications engineering. Telecommunications engineering, probably in school you won't need to focus a lot on things that you're doing currently. You will learn this as you pursue your bachelor's of telecommunications engineering, because it's more focused on mobile and networking and network. And then you can also work specifically on the network security aspect of things, since it's all about security now, and how can you secure your devices, how can you secure your networks. It just depends on where you look at it, your vision for the future.
You both mentioned IB classes.
Yes.
Yes. Are you supportive of the IB program?
Yes.
Very much.
Can you tell us why?
So for me, on the SL level, it gives you at least, if not 1 year or 2 year experience in university subjects.
Yes.
So the math that I took when I spoke to my fellow colleagues, they were like, oh, we took this in college, or we took this like year 3 or something. And I was like, oh, I got this in high school. And they were amazed.
Yeah.
So pursue at least an SL, if not an HL, in your subjects.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, so Anna, my experience with IB was, as Aisha mentioned, it gave me, like, the 2 years of IB gave me exactly, because I did my bachelor's at a US university, so we had to do the foundation. And the foundation was, to me, piece of cake. Doesn't mean you don't have to put effort into it. I'm not saying that. But the IB prepared me for the foundational courses. So I didn't, comparing myself to my other colleagues when I entered university, honestly speaking, I didn't have to put as much effort as they did. And for them it was something new, but for us it was something that we already spent so much time on, 2 years of our lives, So it was, for me, it was really, really easy to get through the foundational year for you. So it does help a lot when you take IB, and specifically, it helps you a lot as well in if you want to specialize in something. So if you're looking at ITGS or computer science or math, even Arabic and English, for the sake of those who are pursuing careers in literature, and you are the foundational skills that the International Baccalaureate gives you helps you have that competitive advantage over your other peers at college. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's like you're having like a foundation year in school.
Yes. So technically, first year in college, they'll have done it here in the school.
You'll enjoy it before you go into the...
Yeah, it will be much easy transition from high school to university.
To university life. Absolutely. This is what we also encourage our students to do. So in terms of skills, what would you say the students need to have? Soft skills, hard skills, in order to succeed not only in a computer science major, but also in life these days?
Okay, Anna, I probably want to add, first thing is critical thinking. Critical thinking is a major thing, because you always, as I mentioned earlier, there are always a lot of challenges. So how do you get yourself, how do you put your problem solving into things? For example, for me, is one thing that I realized is that your managers or your top management don't want you to go in saying, I have an issue or we have an issue. No, they want you to come in saying, okay, this is the issue, but this is what I think we need to solve it, and this is how it's solved. That's what makes you, probably they look at you better than the others, because a lot of people I know, and I've worked managing other people, I know people just come to management thinking that they're gonna solve the issues. It's how do you build yourself, because you start small, but you wanna end up big. You wanna end up in management roles. You don't wanna end up as a normal employee your whole life. So I think the main thing is critical thinking, problem solving. From my field, I think risk assessment is important. You need to understand your risks. You need to understand how to achieve the right decisions, make the right decisions basically through risk management, whether it be tools or frameworks or strategies that you work on. Project management is very important these days, because every single field you're going to work on is what makes whether it be yourself, an organization, or even a whole country. Like countries nowadays, their main objective is to collaborate in order to face their challenges and threats. So working together is very important. You have to learn from each other and provide your skills and teach others as well. So collaboration, to me, is really, really helpful in becoming successful as well.
The problem is with some people in the IT.
Successful as well.
The problem is with some people in the IT and cybersecurity and the computer science world, they have the problem-solving skills. However, they don't have the social skills to communicate these issues, the people skills, and it's hard. Like, I've worked with people that were geniuses in their field, but they didn't know how to communicate. And they felt like, they're defensive. I don't know what to do. That's it. And they run away. And then they come to me, Aysha, could you please explain this to someone that is not technical? And you need to understand those words and phrases that aren't technical, but at the same time, it's more general, and you can explain it in these lame terms. So that is something that you will need to explain to people that are outside your field, that are not in the technical field. So
it is safe to say that communication is at the heart of everything. If you cannot communicate, you cannot work in a team.
Exactly.
You cannot send the proper email. So I want to touch upon the importance of writing, especially in communication nowadays, given that we use the internet a lot. What would you say for students that tell you, well, I'm going to major in computer science, I don't need Arabic and English? So what advice would you give them?
You will need it. You will need to understand how to write emails and letters, explaining the issue. You need to understand how to segment your email, when to start with the issue, solving, the technicalities, and so on. So you need those communication skills that you do get from literature and you do get from English and Arabic, because you will communicate in both of these languages to people that may not know both.
Yes, absolutely. All right, on this note, I am going to ask the audience if they have any questions. Please raise your hand if you have any questions for our guests, and the ushers will provide you with the microphone. Okay, we've got a question in the front.
Hi, good morning. What do you think about the IB allowing ChatGPT to be implemented in essays?
Say that again, IB and
AI
what?
What do you think about the IB allowing ChatGPT to be implemented in essays?
I think Marwah can talk about that.
ChatGPT.
George, can you repeat the question,
Yeah,
please?
sure. What do you think about the IB allowing ChatGPT into the personal use of students?
I think you're just giving it fuel to the fire.
I think it's not. يعني, I know you probably want to follow the with the trend. It's good to use technology, but يعني, as we say, with opportunities come challenges, and there are always risks, and you really have to be careful when you come to using such technologies. But this is where your challenge here is understanding the right and wrong. So if you, for example, coming from the telecommunications background, for example, we've seen, especially through the COVID, the rise of fraud SMS messages. So if you receive an SMS message on your phone from, for example, the benefit company, and we use benefit now to transfer payments. So how will you make sure that you're taking the right decision on pressing that link? That's the first thing you're gonna want to ask yourself that question. The second thing, and if you press that link, will you actually provide them with your personal details? Like if you were put into that position, would you ask yourself these questions? So let's say ChatGPT gives you recommendations. How are you going to make sure that those recommendations will benefit you or no? So maybe these are the questions you want to ask yourself before making sure, like Aisha said, putting
Adding fuel to
the fire.
Yeah,
And
feeding
do
the
you want to go ahead and increase or enhance the use of such things, or do you want to make sure we know what is right and what is wrong before getting into that?
Because you have to put in mind, ChatGPT, you don't learn from ChatGPT as much as it learns from you.
They're learning
so you're
from you.
teaching them your ways, you're teaching them your trends, your statistics. So for me, I'm more of an apocalyptic kind of mind. So I feel like machines will take over by the end of this day or by the end of this era. So, yeah.
Ani, talking from my experience and from my point of view, since I graduated from the Masters of Science in Cybersecurity back in 2015, so it's been almost 8 years now, maybe going into the security fields makes me very precautious about things. Yeah. So I think and I ask a lot of questions to myself and to others before I take the next step.
Thank you for this. Next question, please.
What is the benefits of going into AI?
What is
AI. What's the benefits?
Benefit of going into AI.
As you mean, if you want to pursue a career in artificial intelligence or do a degree? Well, basically, you're going with the trend, first of all. You're achieving probably one of a few degrees that many people are willing to do, but I'm sure it's not that easy to get into AI. AI requires a lot of skills. You need big data, you need statistics, you need to understand. But the good thing about it, the benefits, is that you'll be able to rise in the market because you're going to be, as I said earlier, one of a few people who is specializing in something that is new to at least for the next 10 years.
Because AI is more of a futuristic subject, and with the trends that are happening, it is a much needed specialty.
Okay, thank you. Third question, please.
What do you think of fintech? Do you think that it...
I don't know
Here. What do you think of fintech? Do you think that it plays a key role in the development of Bahrain's economy over the future? Do you think it's going to be a viable option for a student?
Financial technology.
Financial technology. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking, for example, if you're looking to focus on finance and you're very interested in technology, fintech is a very nice career to go into. You're going to learn both things. You're going to put your what you've learned in university into practice. But I would probably focus, يعني not pursue a, maybe this is my personal opinion, but don't do a bachelor's degree in fintech. Do it in finance and then specialize in fintech. Yeah.
For me, I would do the other way around.
No,
So
I
I
think
would specialize-
you're gonna limit yourself then.
Really? Because when
Unless,
when I had an internship, it was
Mhm.
the other way around because I did my IB in business
Okay.
and economics, and like Elizabeth, I didn't pursue it. But when I did my computer science degree and understood machine learning, I kind of took a little bit what I've understood before and said, okay, I may do a master's in finance or something, or do another bachelor, and that was another recommendation I got.
I
But
don't know.
yeah, it depends on what
لا
you
بس أنا
like.
there are I don't want to interrupt you, but there are specific specializations. For example, if you don't have the background, you won't be able to do a master's in finance. Because there are specific specializations where you need a background to get into. For example, I know from my experience, if you want to go into economics, if you don't have a bachelor's in economics, you won't be able to do a master's in economics. There are specific requirements,
Yes.
degree requirements.
And it's good that you touched upon this. We always encourage students to do a lot of research about the majors they're going into and the universities that provide them. Because in general, the university will, put on the course descriptions, what they'll be teaching, what they can do after they graduate. So getting this information ahead of time from the specific university you're going to pursue your major at will save you in the future.
Exactly.
Yes.
And plus, in addition to that, always look at, when you're looking for the degree courses, always look at the syllabus. And if you're interested in this, then you can go ahead and do it. Just don't do it for the sake of, it says something that, like, I remember I did that when I took my master's degree, because there were not a lot of, back then, universities providing Masters of Science. And for example, I chose Masters of Science over the Masters of Arts because it focused more on the engineering aspect, on the technical aspect of it. And when I looked at Warwick, they provided a lot of courses that were between management and technical. So they for me, it was the right direction. The main objective when I went into my first class in at Warwick was that how do you convince your managers or your bosses that cybersecurity is important? Because that was the question back then. So now I can say, and proud to say, that I actually did it. So that's the thing. That's why I focus on the syllabus and the career and the way that you see yourself.
Thank you. Next question, please. Okay, it seems we have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Hello?
ask each one of you to answer just,
Sure. Okay.
one question, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I have a question. IBM technology is one of the best and most commonly used in banking and finance industry. What would be the most commonly used technology in telecommunication?
I heard the last part of the question, but the first part I didn't hear, honestly.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question?
I repeat it louder. IBM technology is one of the best and most commonly used in banking and finance industry. What would be the most commonly used technology in telecommunication? That's my question.
Most common use technology in telecommunication.
The most common used technology in telecommunications? Okay, we focus in our, probably I'm going to talk about, again, the TRA and what we do at the TRA. We're a regulator. Okay, so basically, we have a lot of technologies that we apply, but we're not the ones who are implementing it. This would probably be best answered by companies such as Batelco, STC, and Zain, because they're the technology companies, and they're the ones who implement the technology itself. But from my point of view now, I'm talking about 5G, 6G technology. You're looking at Wi-Fi and how you're implementing it. Fiber is another example. As I mentioned earlier, Internet of Things is commonly used only because the devices that are provisioning the that are provisioning the IoT services, they're using SIM cards, and that is why we consider this in telecommunications technology because of the use of the SIM cards that are embedded into the devices. So basically, the trend now, if you're going to talk about it, it's the Internet of Things. And how are you implying the use cases in different sectors of the economy, such as smart meters and electricity and water, and as I mentioned earlier, the connected cars.
Thank you. Next question, and we're going to take 2 more questions.
My question is, what personal device do you guys think that is safest to use, like Androids or Apple, and which are the safest when it comes to cybersecurity?
For me, as from the incidents that I've seen, iOS, iPhone is the hardest to hack. As iPhone itself, not as the applications. It's not like the WhatsApp or Benefit Pay if it's on it. No, the iPhone itself.
Okay. Thank you. Next question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What were your first jobs and how did it define your career?
Should I answer that?
Yeah. what's
Okay,
your first
on
job?
my first job, I started as a research assistant at the Bahrain Center for Strategic International and Energy Studies. Honestly speaking, I didn't start in cybersecurity. I started in economics and political because back then the center was restructured and it was new, so they started focus on a totally different field than the previous center. I started off considering my computer information systems and business management field. I focused on things related to politics and economic research. That was for probably 2 to 3 years of my life until I kicked off. I started reading about cybersecurity and the ongoing trend about what's happening in the cyber field. That is when I was thinking of pursuing my master's degree. So my master, it was challenging because the first challenge I faced was to get on a scholarship. I had to get into one of the leading universities and I had to get an acceptance in that university to get accepted in the scholarship. So that is where I think my career kicked off. I went to University of Warwick. I pursued my master's degree. My thesis revolved around developing a cybersecurity strategy for Bahrain. But my question was, should we have a national strategy or a strategy based on the GCC level? When I came back, I heard about the First Deputy, back then it was called the First Deputy Prime Minister Fellowship Program. I was part of the second batch of that program, and we had to work on specific projects that were presented to His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa. My project, I took the opportunity, since I already had studied the national cybersecurity strategy as part of my thesis. So I said, why not take the opportunity and actually present it to the government, since I was in a place where I could actually make use of the strategy. So the strategy I built during my 1 year seconded at the First Deputy Prime Minister's office was that I developed the first national cybersecurity strategy for Bahrain. So, and I'm proud to say that they successfully established the National Cybersecurity Center, which now is responsible for the cybersecurity matters here in Bahrain.
Okay. That's amazing. One more question, please, from the crowd before we end our session.
So,
cybersecurity and technology in general is a fast evolving industry. What are the traits you think we need to have in order to keep up?
Yeah, we did not hear the question. Can you please stand up and read it?
Cybersecurity and technology in general is a fast evolving industry. So what are the traits you think we need to have in order to keep up?
Oh, I can't.
Yes,
sorry,
we
but
can't
I can't hear the question very well.
Cybersecurity, AI, and technology in general is a fast evolving industry. So what are the traits and characteristics you think we need to keep up with?
So you're asking the traits and characteristics
Yeah,
people
we need to keep up, and like things we need to do to keep up and make sure we don't fall back.
All right, so this question is about how do we keep up with the advancements in these fields? You know, what do we need to have in terms of traits, you know, to, you know, keep up with the advancements?
I'd say develop your skill. يعني keep developing your skills. So don't stop at bachelor's, master's degree. I'm not sure I agree to what Aisha is doing, the PhD. Sorry, بس يعني it's not يعني master's degree has become a necessity now.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bachelor's degree. There are a lot of professional certifications that you can do as part of the cybersecurity field, depending on which track you're taking. So always keep up to date with those certifications if you want to have that competitive advantage. That's one thing. Keep reading and understanding. The first thing I do when I walk into my office is open up Google and write cybersecurity in the news, have up to date on what is happening in cybersecurity, whether there has been a hack or a data breach or a incident. Keep up to date with the news. Make sure that you're always on the go. It's always about, this is just basic knowledge to me. So if you understand what's happening in the world, you're gonna always be successful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you want to do a PhD, so basically the PhD is that it's not that you have to keep up with the trends. If you want to be above the trends, that's when you have to do a PhD, because PhD takes a lot of research. So that would be one of my answers of research, read, have Google alerts, read the news.
On behalf of Bahrain Bayan School's entire community, we thank you very much for being with us today. We just have a small token of appreciation for us to give you. I'm going to ask Mr. Madhat Ma'rabi, our director, to come to stage, please.
And Mandina?
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.